back to the Domestic Boyfriends podcast. As always, I am your host, Dean, and always is my co-host, Vincent.
Hello.
So this week, pretty quiet. We had some news. So for this week, what we're actually gonna do is we both have made lists for our top 10 D-list supervillains, which I think will be pretty interesting. We went over our notes a little bit ago, and we actually just figured out that neither of us put Kite Man or Condiment King, which I guess honorable mentions for them. But yeah, so I guess we'll go over some news. So Vincent, if you want to start off with yours.
Yeah, absolutely. Ahead of its April 8th release date, Sonic Movie 2 has just dropped the final trailer as well as the at least one of the official posters for the movie. The poster that they dropped looks it pays homage to the original Sonic 2 box art, which just twanged at my heartstrings. The nostalgia really hit me over the head when I saw it. I didn't realize how excited for the movie I actually was.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you don't really. I mean, like at least for me, like I'm always like big Marvel, second's DC, and then third's like whatever is out there. But no, definitely excited for this. Definitely looks like it's gonna be a great movie.
I swear though, if they don't put Big the Cat on the screen soon, I'm going to cry.
Yeah, I think they have a lot of characters that they can put in this.
Yeah. We still haven't met Amy yet. We have no clue if they're gonna go with the Archie comics characters and have
like his siblings.
Oh God, I don't even know if Sonic has siblings. I know that.
Yeah, it's like Sonya and Maniac or something like that.
Oh yeah. Oh God.
Yeah.
I just want Big the Cat.
Just Big the Cat fishing everywhere.
Yeah, that's all I need. Yep.
Anything else?
Also, 2.5 weeks after its release, Elden Ring has officially sold over 12 million copies. This game, it's hard to go anywhere right now without hearing at least one or two people talking about it still. I was getting my hair cut yesterday, and the place that I go to usually has people just talking about really old movies or metal music, and instead when I went in there they were talking about Elden Ring and bosses that they couldn't get past.
That's funny.
It was a very interesting experience. Also, as of last week, the game's speedrun is now getting closer and closer to Ocarina of Time levels of jank. You're able to get through the game. Somebody was able to get through the game in 28 minutes and 59 seconds.
Yeah, it's
just
getting there.
Barely under 30.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy, but it's definitely not. I haven't played like many Souls likes, and Elden Ring was gonna be my first one, but I've been putting it off. But the whole point of them is exploring, right? Like it's the adventure.
Yeah, the adventure that goes into it. The story isn't. It's in this game. The story is more. It's a bit easier to follow than others, but at the same time, there's still tons and tons of stuff that the game doesn't even begin to try to tell you, that you have to like really pay close attention to understand what's going on.
Interesting.
That's all I've got for this week.
Alrighty, I have a couple more things. On the 13th, March 13th, we mourned the passing of the actor William Hurt, more known, at least nowadays, as the actor for Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross in The Incredible Hulk and the few Avengers movies that he was in. Great actor. heard he was a great guy to actually be around. And it's really sad because I really thought they were lining him up to create like a Thunderbolts team. I guess in Black Widow when you see Ross really sick, it was actually the actor, which is sad to see. But
Oh.
yeah, I hope they just don't touch any of Thunderbolt or the Red Hulk. Just out of respect, I feel like they can just leave him as like a character that's not touched in the MCU anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Going on with Marvel news. Apparently confirmed by Samuel L. Jackson himself, Don Cheadle, the actor for War Machine, is confirmed to come back for Secret Invasion. Secret Invasion being a show / movie that I really let fly under my radar. It's a big event in the comics, but it's something that I totally forgot that they were gonna produce. It's not gonna be like very big. I feel like it's gonna be very Civil War level of storytelling, where it's like more grounded. Nothing really big's gonna happen, like how the comic event happened.
Does that tie into Secret Wars at all?
No, so Secret Invasion, it's actually so. Secret Invasion is when so what happened was the Illuminati in the Marvel Universe, which at the time was comprised of Charles Xavier, Iron Man, Reed Richards, Black Bolt, and I think Doctor Strange. It was just 5 of them at the time. They were like, hey, Skrulls, if you ever send anybody to Earth, or we'll kill you and massacre your entire race. And the Skrulls were like, bet. And then they kidnapped all of them and stole their power, like, and copied all of their powers and intellect and memories, and sent back, like, Skrulls with their memories and powers to Earth, starting the plot of Secret Invasion, where apparently a lot of people have been Skrulls for years. Like superheroes that like we knew and loved and followed stories. Like Spider-Woman was apparently the Skrull Queen in disguise. So everything that we knew about Spider-Woman up to that point was actually like fake, or wasn't true to the extent that we thought they were, because they weren't actually the characters that we knew. They were just Skrulls. And Secret Invasion ended up resolving with I'm pretty sure it ended up resolving with Skrulls copying Deadpool, and then all of them started copying Deadpool, and then they started to go insane, and like with that they crashed like thousands of ships. It was an idea by Nick Fury, which would be a funny way to introduce Deadpool, but they ended up destroying the whole Skrull armada using Deadpool, and I think it was Iron Man that had the Skrull Queen at gunpoint, but then Norman Osborn took the shot, which that led into Dark Reign, because it was like Norman Osborn was said to be like the hero that saved the world because he killed the Skrull Queen. So they made him the head of S.H.I.E.L.D. instead of Tony Stark, who had been conspiring with the Skrulls unknowingly to himself, and he even thought that he was a Skrull. Because the crazy thing about Skrulls in the comics is they've been these people for so long they forget that they're Skrulls.
Interesting.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think it'll definitely be interesting because the way that Captain Marvel took the Skrulls in her movie, like they're more like morally good, which I mean. They aren't bad people. They're aliens pit in war, and Earth is usually just in the middle of it all. Going on with the Samuel Jackson stuff. Samuel Jackson was talking to Josh Horowitz in an interview, and apparently was in the talks with Bryce D. Howard about possibly getting Mace Windu back in the Star Wars franchise in some form. Bryce D. Howard directs some of the episodes of The Mandalorian, so it was just more of like they were working on a project together. He was just talking to him, and kind of came up in conversation. So I think that'd be That'd be interesting. Mace Windu, underrated character. Samuel Jackson, amazing actor. So,
Yeah, man.
next, Toy was hacked like a week ago or something like that. Thus leading to production halts, which includes episodes of One Piece. The adaptation of Chapter 1000 was included in that. So, a lot of people have been talking about this, and a lot of people are kind of sad about this because it's a delay in anime. And to end off the last bit of news before we talk about a specific trailer that came out yesterday, or was the day before. Some spring anime that's going to be coming up soon that I think I recommend a lot of people should check out. Spy X Family is coming out. It is a lighthearted yet can be serious story about a spy and an assassin who are both put on a mission to have a regular family, and they have an adopted daughter. A lot of cute moments in the story, a lot of serious and honestly like cool panels in it. If you need some like slice of life in your spring lineup, I definitely recommend it. Tiger and Bunny 2 is coming out. If you've seen the original Tiger and Bunny, you know how awesome it is. And I believe a lot of these are going to be available on Crunchyroll because they're folded over quite a majority of the catalog from Funimation. Not sure when everything's going to be done completely, when Funimation's site shut down, if it doesn't already by the time this goes up. But it's definitely an interesting time in the anime industry. Just because of everything that's happening. But the last thing that we're going to talk about before we get into our lists is the Miss Marvel trailer. So what were your opinions on it, Vincent?
I thought it was interesting. I liked it. I forget what song they had playing, but if I remember correctly, it was a very generic pop song.
It was Blinding Lights by The Weeknd.
Ah, yes. Very generic pop song. I kind of don't like that they changed how her powers work, but I'm sure I'll get over it. It looks pretty and looks a lot more interesting than just big hand.
Yeah. I I have high hopes that this movie series, I think it's a movie. There might be a series, I'm not sure. Production value for Disney Plus stuff is very high, so I can't tell the difference. I hope they keep her story the same that she is. But I have a lot of gripes with where I feel like they will take her character that I feel like should be addressed before anything happens. Because Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan, I believe she's Pakistani, and she is a character that needs proper representation because her story is about how she feels like she's a really big Miss Marvel fan, or Captain Marvel at this point in the comics. And she believes that Carol Danvers is like the ideal inspiration for what a female superhero should be, and kind of pushing the boundaries of what a perfect person in American society should be. A perfect female, I should say. So much so that when her powers first manifested because she's an Inhuman in the comics, so I don't think they're going to touch on Inhumans at all in the MCU anymore, especially after the terrible Inhumans project that they had, which is, I feel like, why they changed her abilities. But she believed in this so much so that when her powers first manifested, she actually like morphed her body into the form of Carol Danvers in her Miss Marvel costume. Her power is called embiggening, and it's not just like stretchiness. She can also like make herself grow like different sizes, and she can also like shapeshift. So a big thing that like she reflects on in her early parts is the fact that she would transform into Captain Marvel or Miss Marvel, Carol Danvers. Um, oof, my throat. Um, in order to fight crime, because she thought that if she did it in her own skin, if she did it looking like herself, it wouldn't have the same effect. And the way I think that they're gonna take this, I feel like it might be more of like she's supposed to be Carol's sidekick, or she's supposed to like. I feel like they're tying too many things together. Like her powers, when she first puts the, she has like a gauntlet or like a bracelet,
Yeah.
which I have a theory about what they are. And her friend is like, how does it feel? She's like cosmic, and I have a feeling that they're trying to draw parallels to her and Captain Marvel a lot, instead of what the comics have done, and really took her from a person believing that Carol Danvers is her ideal person, instead of her being herself. And in the comics, Kamala has found herself. She's found herself. She's found her friends. She's found the people she belongs with, and has identified herself as her own strong, independent female superhero. And it's a big thing about identity and race, and I feel like certain tones of that are going to be swept under the rug because they're trying to draw parallels with them, and they're trying to make them work it all together so that the Marvel show can work smoothly.
Mm-hmm.
All I can hope is that they keep true to her character. I don't care about the powers per se, just as long as we get the same message. And as for like her powers, it's interesting because like at first I didn't understand what they were, and then after eating a sandwich I was just like, I understand what it is. So she has like a gauntlet, right? It looks like she got it from like her house or something along those lines, like a trunk in her house, which who knows how they got that. But I think she has some variation of the quantum bands. And for anybody who reads Marvel comics, the quantum bands were used by the original Captain Marvel, and they gave him powers of flight, energy manipulation, super strength, like the whole shebang. The quantum bands also have another version called the nega bands, like negative bands, which draw on powers of the negative zone, I believe, and that give very similar powers. But they also have in their arsenal energy projection and energy manipulation, very similarly how Kamala uses like the big fist and everything. There's actually a panel of Marvel using the quantum bands in a very Green Lantern construct similar way. So, it's like I said before, it's a way that I feel like they're going to tie them together. Marvel originally used them in the comics. She'll use them in this series to draw this like other connection between them instead of using that she's an Inhuman and stuff. But I just have high hopes for it. I hope it does good. I don't want any Marvel property to flop. We had enough of that with the Netflix stuff. So, which today, the day that we're recording, all of the Netflix stuff is now on Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Do you have any other thoughts?
That's all I've got. I'm excited for it regardless. It's a Disney Plus Marvel show. It can't be that bad, right?
I don't know. They haven't dropped the ball yet. We'll see. Which by the end of the month we'll have Moon Knight, so we have something else to gawk over.
The highest ball.
Yeah. God. So excited for that. Then I think if we don't have anything else, I guess we'll just get into the main event of today. Let's go. I have no particular order. Do you have yours in like a particular order?
I have mine in an order.
Okay. I guess we'll go your list and then my list. My list isn't in any particular order. I have half Marvel, half DC D-list villains. And then we'll just talk a little bit about them. We'll just start with yours.
Yeah, man. So just one by one?
Yeah, we'll just talk a little bit about him.
Solid. So, at number 10, I've got a character that unfortunately no longer really is a D-list villain. Peacemaker, who has now become a big part of the mainstream ever since James Gunn's amazing Suicide Squad movie and getting his own HBO Max series as well.
And he's played by John Cena, so
Yeah, no, we can actually see him in a role for once.
yeah.
I think, as far as like just John Cena, I think this character is perfect for John Cena.
Yeah.
I have a hard time seeing any other person being able to play him as well.
Yeah.
He's just sort of a goofy character. He's sort of DC's version of the Punisher.
Yeah. And he's a lot more lighthearted in like the show and the movie compared to like his comics counterpart, but they definitely still have the same spirit.
Yeah. Quite enjoy him. At number 9, I have the classic Doom Patrol villain, Beard Hunter.
Oh my gosh, I actually was gonna put him on my list. Oh no.
A man who just hates people with beards and is out to kill them for it.
That's pretty great. Does anybody on the Doom Patrol have facial hair? No.
I don't know.
No one should have facial hair.
I don't think so.
I mean, Beast Boy. Like, maybe, like... Does a gorilla's face count as facial hair? This is something for another time, anyway.
I just like that he has a belt made out of beards.
That's interesting.
At number 8, I have Maxi Zeus, a classic Batman villain who was an accountant, and then I believe he just sort of had a midlife crisis or he hit his head, and now he thinks he is Zeus, the god of Olympus, and becomes a gang boss leader.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's actually really funny. That's great. He must think that Wonder Woman praises him. He's like, "Oh, my daughter."
He had a one-off episode in the Batman animated series with Bruce Timm, and at the end of it, he gets captured and taken to Arkham, and as he goes in, he looks at all the other villains, he looks at Joker, and he's like, "Oh, Hermes!"
Oh.
He sees Poison Ivy, he's like, "Oh, Demeter, I'm home!"
That's great.
Number 7, we have the Trapster, who's a Marvel villain for the Human Torch, but he is better known by his original moniker of Paste Pot Pete. He is a glue-based supervillain, and as we know, glue does not melt, so he is the perfect foil.
Just for Johnny Storm, the guy
Just
that's on
for Johnny Storm.
the guy that's
No
on
one
the
else.
team.
Yeah, no. He actually now gets very mad if you call him by Pastebot Pete. He refuses to go by that. He only goes by the Trapster now.
Interesting. That's interesting.
Number 6, we have Animal Vegetable Mineral Man.
That's a long name. That's a name.
This is another Doom Patrol villain. Doom Patrol had a
course.
lot of really weird people.
I think we can make an entire list out of all of the Doom Patrol villains.
I think so. I think the D in D list should stand for Doom Patrol. Yeah. But Animal Vegetable Mineral Man is a guy who fell into a vat of mysterious amino acids.
Was it
and
vegetable
because
oil minerals?
maybe. But because of that, he's able to transform any part of his body into a form of an animal, vegetable, or mineral.
What?
Usually he does some kind of weird amalgamation of all three, where like his left arm is a bunch of rocks, his right arm is like tree vines, and then he just has like a Tyrannosaurus Rex head growing out of him.
He's like the Super Skrull of bad villains. That's so interesting. I wonder if he has... I feel like I want him. I want this as like an actual villain because I feel like you can tie it into something like, he has access to like the red and like the green and everything like that. That's interesting. It actually sounds like a really cool D-list villain.
He is still a modern sort of villain. He did show up a little bit in Batman. I think he showed up in one episode of Brave and the Bold. And then in the comics, he was fighting. I can see a picture of him fighting Deathstroke at some point, which seems a little interesting.
That seems a little, like, oof.
Yeah. The next character, however, has not been seen since 2007, and that is Sleaze, who was a resident of Apocalypse, and had the power to control other people's minds. Most notably, he wanted to get revenge on Darkseid. I forget why, but to be able to get the funds to make an army, he mind controlled Barda, who's one of the gods from Apocalypse.
Yeah, she was one of the Furies.
Yeah, he mind controlled her and made her become a belly dancer for him.
Big part of the belly dancer. I love it.
Then he did some stuff to her which was not good and videotaped it and tried selling that for funds. And when that didn't work out too well for him, and Miracle Man was sent after him, he then went and mind controlled Superman, got a film director, and tried to make Barda and Superman film a porno and then sell it for funds to make an army to fight Darkseid. And old comics hit different.
Sorry, I had to leave for that 1 second. I like Belly Dancer Barda. I feel like that's a good code name. That's a good code name for her.
Very good. At number 4, we have Egghead, who was a villain made for the Adam West Batman TV series. He was a bald man who used egg-based puns to commit crimes.
I thought he had egg-based powers.
I don't think he had any egg-based powers, but he did use tear gas eggs, which were laid by chickens on an only onion diet.
Interesting. That's like some. That's. I wouldn't even say that's something like I'd hear like the Joker come up with. It's just. That's interesting. Only onion diet.
Nicolas Cage has also gone on record now to say that he wants to play Egghead at some point in a live-action movie.
Okay. All right. Is he just a bald guy? He's just bald?
It's just sort of a bald guy with a really long head.
I think that's so funny because like the whole Nicolas Cage movie where he just plays himself.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited for that movie.
Yeah, that's funny.
All right. Number 3. This is where it got a little hard for me to decide who was my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
But number 3 has to be Wall.
The guy that's just a wall?
The guy that is just a wall. That is right. Joshua Waldemeier, also known as the Wall, was working a part-time job laying bricks and pouring cement and got caught in an explosion which fused him together with the wall. He would then cause havoc during baseball games. This character was originally created as a crossover between the MLB and Marvel, which is why he was baseball focused, and he would just like block balls that were getting hit and then run up to players and just smack them. Spider-Man went to fight him, and his webs wouldn't work. Nothing he did would work.
Oh.
But then, to solve the problems, They just sort of left the field and went and talked it out, and then they're okay.
Oh, I thought they'd just go
Yeah.
to a different field.
No, they just went to the nearby park benches and talked things out.
Oh, well, that's nice. That's nice and humble.
Uh, I believe it was because the umpire got mad, so he just told them to get off the field.
Get out of here, you stupid wall.
At number 2, we have Snowflame.
Oh, this is the
While
cocaine
crea-
guy.
Yeah, while creating this list, I was like, what do villains do? They do drugs, and Snowflame is powered by cocaine.
Yeah, I know this guy. He's a pretty
Uh,
famous D-list villain.
I had never heard of him before doing research for this list, but he has quickly become one of my favorites. He's just sort of enwrapped in white flames that are created from him just taking cocaine.
Yeah, no, it's
I
great.
guess that's what cocaine does to people, which makes sense why the government doesn't want people to just be on fire all the time.
Yeah, get crazy superpowers.
And then at number 1, a villain close, near and dear to my heart, Big Wheel. It's just a man. It's just a man in a big wheel with arms.
Oh, that's so great. Oh, that's so good. So good. A lot of these like I knew about, but some of them are just so obscure. I guess that's the whole point of the D-list villains. But
Yeah, man.
for my list, I'm gonna go through them by. I don't have a particular order, so I'm just gonna go through the DC and then we'll go to the Marvel ones. DC was a lot easier to pick from than Marvel. So first I have Mr. Mind. Now Mr. Mind isn't like a D-list villain for his superhero, but he's a D-list in every other sort of the way. So Mr. Mind is a tiny caterpillar that has psychic and telekinetic abilities and can control people's minds. He's most infamous for the fact that he can go into people's ear canals and sit on top of their brain, and he's so close that he can control their minds without them knowing it. He's a Shazam villain, and he's actually quite formidable. In a recent run, he actually took over the mind of Billy's biological father and actually tricked him. He tricked him into giving him the power of Shazam, which is crazy. Yeah. That whole run was like totally like out of the box. And then next I have Sportsmaster. Sportsmaster being a sports-related and motived supervillain who only uses sports equipment.
Is he the guy that beat up people with a baseball bat?
Yeah, he'll beat up people with a baseball bat. He wears like a hockey mask. He throws pucks at people. Yeah, if you've ever watched Young Justice, he's kind of a prominent character because he's related to one of the main characters, which like he has like cooler like equipment. Like he has like a hockey puck that like can produce like sonic emission that can like knock out Shazam and the Flash. But in the comic books, he just goes to like a Dick's and then he just gets a crap ton of stuff and just beats up superheroes and robs banks and stuff. Next is Humpty Dumpty. I don't know a lot about this guy, but he looks like Humpty Dumpty. And I think he's a mob boss. I just know that he looks like Humpty Dumpty, and if he falls over, he'll probably die. And then we have the Eraser. The Eraser, I saw stills of him from the Batman Brave and the Bold. He's a guy who commits murders and crimes and is able to erase all the evidence that is created. And he's able to do so because his supervillain costume is him in a pencil suit, literally designed as a pencil, and he wears the end of a pencil as a helmet. So he is Eraserhead, but not from My Hero Academia. So he used the eraser on his head to erase all the evidence from the crime. And he looks like a pencil.
Oh.
Next, speaking of Adam West, the infamous Catman is my next guy. I don't think Catman's D-list for Batman, but I feel like if people people can think of like the episode of The Fairly Odd Parents or like Batman in general, you know who Catman is. Just a crazy guy who dresses up as a cat and commits crimes. Also in my mind, whenever he shows up, I just hear Adam West. Next, I'm going through my Marvel ones. Like I said, Marvel was a little harder for me. Dr. Bong, not related in any way to legal/illegal substances. Dr. Bong has the head of a bell, and his left hand was cut off, and he replaced it with a mallet. So his signature attack is that he bongs his head using his mallet arm and creates a sonic wave.
I thought he was that kind of bong. I
No,
see.
no.
That's more PC than I thought this
Yeah.
character was going to be.
No, I forget what he is. I forget whose villain he is. I want to say he's like a Superman villain. He might be a Shazam villain. I'm not sure. I forget. Next is oh, did I just say DC stuff? Oops. Dr. Bong, I think, is a Daredevil villain. Stiltman, pretty notorious D-list villain, known for standing on stilts and fighting the likes of Daredevil. My favorite interaction with Stiltman is after Dr. Octopus goes over to LA in a cloned body of Peter Parker after the events of Superior Spider-Man. His first encounter with a supervillain is Stiltman, and Stiltman's just like, Spider-Man, what are you doing here in LA? And he's just like, I moved. And he's just like, you'll never catch me. And then he just webs him up, and Stiltman's just like, I'm falling. And it's just like, God, these supervillains are such jokes. Next, he's not like, okay, this, I kind of stretched it with this guy because I like his story. His name is Penance, but most people will know him as the superhero Speedball. Speedball, he has he has kinetic abilities, most notably for him, like using kinetic energy to like move fast, thus the name Speedball. Speedball was actually one of the few people on the superhero team, I think the New Warriors, who were incidentally responsible for the death of hundreds of people, including an entire elementary school, the event that led up to Civil War originally in the comics. He was the only surviving person from his superhero team, and he found it that his survival, he had like survivor's guilt, and he then took more of like an anti-hero perspective on everything, and he made a costume with, I believe, 128 needles pointing inwards. There were 128 dead, I believe they were representing all 128 dead people who lost their lives in the explosion that the New Warriors caused. The New Warriors didn't actually cause it. It was caused by a mutant named Nitro that was trying to rob a bank across the street. But he was taking the mutant drug known as Kick, which amplifies mutant abilities, but has a very substantial backfire on it. And Nitro has the ability to go explode. So he exploded. He exploded a lot. And Penance, like, he went more of like an anti-hero role, joining the Thunderbolts, still having the same kinetic abilities with kinetic energy, but yeah, kind of a sad story of a guy with survivor's guilt trying to make it still be kind of a hero. But if you look at him at first glance, he kind of just looks like a villain.
Classic.
But next, a D-list villain for the Starjammers, D-Ken. For anybody that knows Starjammers lore, D-Ken is actually the emperor of the Shi'ar during the time that Scott Summers' family was abducted, and he fell out of the plane with his brother and got amnesia. So the whole story with Deacon is that he kidnapped Scott Summers' father, who goes on to become the leader of the space pirates known as the Starjammers, and goes by the codename Corsair. Scott's mom was pregnant with his younger brother, who would eventually become the Omega level mutant named Vulcan. Deacon took, at that time, Vulcan took him out of his mom, put him into like a not birthing pod, but like a pod to accelerate his growth, and give him nutrients. And yeah, no, he's a crazy guy if you don't know Starjammers lore. Starjammers are like a D-list team themselves, even though they give like a lot of inspiration to what the Guardians are in the MCU. But yeah, no, Deacon's kind of a dick guy. If you know anything about X-Men lore, you kind of know who Deacon is. And the last guy I have on my list is actually a guy called Digger, who is a gamma irradiated supervillain that isn't as strong as the Hulk, but he is green. But his favorite thing to do when killing people is digging them a hole. So he digs their grave right there. Very convenient. You don't even have to pay him or anything like that. He just digs you a hole. Most of the time he'll do it while you're alive, but still very convenient for ceremonies and funerals.
Interesting.
Yeah. But that is my list. We both had some pretty interesting characters. Like I said before, neither of us had Kite Man or Condiment King. Both both villains that we want to see in live action. I'm pretty sure you want to see Condiment King, don't you?
Oh my god, dude. Robert Pattinson has said that Condiment King is his favorite villain. I would love, like, I don't know how they would fit it in with like the Matt Reeves formula, but I would love to like have Batman just strolling through Arkham and then just have like ketchup appear on his face because someone gave him a packet. Squirt him from a cell.
They're like, it's like in like one of the latest seasons of Young Justice, they were patrolling the Mad Hatter, and apparently he got out of Arkham on like probation or something. Part of his probation was that he couldn't have hats, like you couldn't wear hats. Which led to a joke by Stephanie Brown saying, "Thank God he's not the Mad Pantser." But I imagine that in Arkham Asylum, like certain people can't have things. Like Poison Ivy can't have plants for obvious reasons. The Joker can't have anything. The Riddler can't have a pen and paper. But Condiment King is not allowed to have any condiments at all. Like everybody's allowed ketchup and like mustard whenever they have like hot dogs, but not Condiment King.
He'd be too powerful.
Yeah. But yeah, a much shorter episode this week. I guess this is the best time. We discussed this before recording. We're actually gonna make this a bi-weekly podcast. Gives us more opportunity to not rush production and everything. It also gives us some time to get some news gathered and everything, and just to make some better content for you guys. So yeah, I really don't have anything else to say. Hopefully I can hear back from my art guy, and we will have some pretty pictures up on the YouTube and the Twitter soon. And I don't have anything else to say. Do you?
That's all I got.
Alrighty then. Of course, as always, if you liked what you have seen today, like and subscribe. Get in that algorithm. We got to start saying this now.
Hit that bell icon to never miss out on a notification from us.
There we go. And follow us down in the description at our @. I'm at Lying Mask of Truth.
I'm at Vincent Barlow 08.
That's a lie. I'm at lying_mask, and of course you can you can tweet, you can tweet directly.
Liar!
You can tweet directly at us for the podcast with any questions or concerns, or if you just want to chat, at DB Pod on Twitter. Yeah, DB. No, domestic. I forgot our Twitter handle. Give me a second. Domestic
Now
BF.
this
Domestic BF Pod
tragedy.
on Twitter. If you want to stay in the loop, content will be pumped out more regularly because we have some more time. We're giving us some more time. And yeah, like and share, and we will talk to you guys again in a couple weeks.
See you, beautiful people.